How to make my custard cream cupcakes with a custard flavoured cupcake sponge and buttercream is a delicious twist on the classic biscuit. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today I'm making the cupcake version of one of my most popular cakes I've ever posted on social media, which is my custard cream cupcakes. I am genuinely just trying to merge one of the most iconic biscuits that ever has existed of custard creams with a cupcake, because why would you not? So this recipe is super simple, it's easy, it uses your classic Bird's custard powder, and it is amazing. So honestly, you're gonna love it just as much as I do. Just like in any other cupcake sponge, I'm starting off with a baking spread, but you can use a room temperature unsalted butter if you prefer. And then I'm going with cast sugar, just a simple white one, but you can use golden cast sugar as well if you fancy. And then I have 3 medium eggs. Because I'm adding a little bit of milk with this, you only need 3. Self-raising flour as always, because you want the fluffy cake texture. And then that's when we mix in the custard powder. It always looks a little bit weird in the bowl, but trust me, the classic custard powder is the perfect way to make these custard flavoured. Then with a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of milk, you'll have an easy and delicious cupcake mix. Typically when you make a basic cupcake mix, you only need the butter, sugar, flour and eggs. But because we're adding the custard powder to this, it adds a little bit of milk as well, just to thin the cupcake batter out. But make sure you beat your butter and sugar until they're fluffy, add in your eggs and your dry ingredients and milk, and then you'll have a lovely smooth cupcake mix. So I'm starting by adding my butter to the bowl, and then I'm adding my caster sugar as well. And then we're going to beat these together until fluffy. I'm just going to add a little bit of vanilla, and then I'm going to add my eggs. And then I'm going to add my self-raising flour and mix it all together. Then I'm going to add in my custard powder. And then finally, your little bit of milk. And there you have the perfect cake mix. So once your cupcake mix is ready, it's going to be lovely, thick and smooth and perfect, so we can bake them. I am going to bake in some baking cups today, which they're like cupcake cases, but you can basically bake them on a flat tray. They're pretty, they're cute, and when they're done, you can sort of open them up into like a little cupcake plate. But I'll link these in the description box. But if you can't access them, that's totally fine. I would just recommend using muffin-sized cases from a supermarket, as they're slightly bigger than the cupcake cases, and then you get 12 delicious cupcakes out of it. With these, or the muffin cases, I also recommend using a 5cm scoop, which again, I'll link below, because it's the easy way to evenly portion your cupcake mix between the 12 cases. Now your cupcake batter is in the cases, as you can see, to split evenly. I'm going to bake them in my preheated oven. I tend to bake cupcakes at 160 fan for about 20-22 minutes, but sometimes if you find your oven makes the cupcake sort of peak quite high, you can turn down the temperature by about 20 degrees to 140 fan and bake for more like 35-40 minutes, and this will help bake them at a lower temperature for a flatter top. Some ovens won't, some ovens will, but you know, you can always try it out in different ways. But generally, lower and slower is better if you want definitely flat cupcakes. Otherwise, 160 fan is your typical temperature to bake cupcakes at. So either way, whatever works for you. Once you've baked them, leave them to cool fully before decorating, and then of course you can enjoy a custard cream cupcake. So now that my cupcakes have baked and cooled, they are beautifully golden, delicious, and perfect to decorate. So this is a really simple American buttercream frosting using some unsalted block butter that is at room temperature. I really would recommend not using a spread or margarine for this, just so it sets very well. And then I have some icing sugar. And because we're really sticking with a custard cream theme here, I have a little bit more custard powder. Now, I use the custard powder in the batter and the frosting because it's a dry ingredient. You can't add actual custard to this bit, but you could maybe core out some of the cupcake and add some custard. But personally, I find the custard powder method much easier and it just fuels the flavour ever so slightly. But again, if you don't have custard powder, you could try and buy a custard flavouring and they work very well as well. But then I also add a little bit of vanilla for sweetness. But either way, super easy frosting, so easy to make. I'm going to start by adding my unsalted butter to a bowl, and then I'm going to beat it on its own until it's smooth. Now I'm going to add my icing sugar and mix it in really well. Adding a little bit of vanilla and then my custard powder as well. And there you have a deliciously thick frosting. So now that my frosting is ready, I have grabbed my favourite piping tip, which is the 2D closed style piping tip. I know I use it a lot, but I just love the swell that it creates, but you can use any other piping tip you fancy. But generally I go for a medium or large size. So when you look at the ones in the supermarket, usually they're much smaller and like a plastic. That's when the piping tends to not look as nice. So I'd really recommend buying some actual cake decorating ones. And then I have a large Savoy style piping bag where I'll just snip off the end, add the piping tip and add my frosting into the middle, and then you can create a lovely swell. And one tip I have for making sure you cut off the right amount is you match the piping tip to the bag, and then if it's the same width, cut that bit off and then it'll fit perfectly. And then I'm just going to add a custard cream and some biscuit crumbs for decoration. And that is how you make my custard cream cupcakes. They're so simple and easy, but you know, classic flavour, and I absolutely adore them. So make sure to check out the full recipe in the description box below, and there's a link to the blog post with the method as well. Any useful bits like the baking cups, the piping tip, I'll link below. Make sure to come back next time for something absolutely delicious as always, and make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Enjoy!